So let's move on directly to the next panel. Let me welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Raj Reddy. Raj I have the honor to say this, is the first computer science PhD coming out of Stanford. He has made pioneering contributions to computer science, and he's a winner of Turing Award. Let's welcome Raj Reddy to the stage.
Good morning. It's great to be back on the campus again. I first came to Stanford as a graduate student in September of 1963 to work with John McCarthy on AI. That was the same year the US government started large-scale investment in AI. Under the leadership of J.C.R. Licklider, ARPA started providing major AI funding for Stanford, MIT, and Carnegie Mellon. Thus was born SAIL, the Stanford AI Labs, in 1963. SAIL got the first dedicated PDP-1 computer. Until then, all computers were shared. You submitted your job and got a punch card. For the first time at Stanford, we had a dedicated computer for AI, any research, AI research especially. Most of the students went home by 6 p.m. I was the lucky beneficiary of uninterrupted access of PDP-1 from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. every day. Coming from an IBM environment, you had to go back 60 years, computers were extremely expensive. The cost of 1 hour of computing was over $1,000. So here I was wasting $14,000 every day doing something that may not be, long-term use. It felt like I died and went to heaven. Very soon we had PDP-1 doing spoken vowel recognition within a few months. And that was the power of having substantial access of computation. Even today, that is the major problem for AI, or many other problems, many other difficult problems. Today's computers are 1 billion times more powerful than the PDP-1, but that did not stop us from working on very hard AI problems. We were working undaunted. We took on problems such as speech, vision, language, robotics, chess, all problems for which there was no science background, no books written on how speech works or how human brain recognizes an image and so on. So you had to kind of create a whole science around these things. And in 1997, 30 years later, Deep Blue defeated Kasparov, the first grand challenge problem to fall to brute force computing power. What you'll notice is even today, most AI problems are getting solved because we have access to brute force computing power. Even with 1 billion times more computing, we are not there yet. From the beginning, the primary role of AI was seen to enhance the mental capabilities of the human being, not to replace them. There's a major misconception in the minds of some people that AI is going to replace human beings. We did not have the same debates about existential threats or AI taking over the world and enslaving us. John McCarthy once famously said that to reach human-level intelligence, we will need 1.7 Einsteins, 3 Maxwells, and 0.7 Manhattan Project. Even if we attained singularity, as Moravec and Kurzweil have said, in 10 to 15 years from now, by reaching computational equivalent of human brain, we will still need Einsteins and Maxwells and massive funding to get to artificial general intelligence. Slide 1, please. In this talk, I will talk about the promise and perils of AI that are on the horizon. If we assume that AI is not to replace human beings, if you assume that AI is mainly a tool to enhance the mental capabilities of everyone trying to do anything, then we may in fact have a better model for going forward. To me, AI is like engineering. Engineering has enhanced our physical capabilities, flying like a bird or crossing the oceans without growing fins. We can envision a possible future. So what are the consequences of thinking 10 times, 100 times faster with the AI-enabled tools for whatever we are trying to do? So, next slide, please. How do I get to next slide? Oh, here it is. Yeah. So, basically, I want to kind of present a future or invent a future in which innovation of the past can be enhanced by creating tools to enhance the mental capabilities. Such intelligence amplifiers can create superhuman capabilities. Every engineer should be able to get a month's work done in a day, or increase the productivity that will lead to dramatic discoveries in every discipline, leading to availability of products and services for the human race at a fraction of the cost. So what are the broad implications? We were talking about global GDP earlier in the panel. What are the broad implications? One conjecture is when we have human beings that are able to solve problems 10 times, 100 times faster, we will be able to increase the global GDP by a factor of 10 or 100 or more, even if we take the lower estimate of factor of 10. Today, global GDP is about $100 trillion. If in 10, 15 years we get to global GDP of $1,000 trillion, it is assumed that everyone's life will be much better. The rising tide lifts all the boats. So what I'd now like to do is quickly take you through a whole set of near-term things that will, I think, have a huge impact on human race, on the planet. I'll talk about a few promising opportunities that are there. It's not ChatGPT or large language models. I'm mainly talking about poverty. So supposing we have an AI tool in which any illiterate person can interact with the tool to do things that a literate person, someone even with a PhD, can do. What might that be? How would you design such a tool? I can imagine it, I'm sure you can too. It is very easy. All you have to do is create a voice-enabled dialogue intelligent assistant, which will interact, because even if I'm an illiterate person, I don't know how to read or write, I can still speak. I can interact. And using that, I can do a number of things. I leave you with a thought experiment of what you need to do. Supposing you're an illiterate person, you need to open a bank account. Bank accounts need filling in a form. That means you have to be able to read a form and fill it in. And you're illiterate. You can't read the form. You can't fill it in. You can't write. And I suggest to you that this can be done very easily given the technologies of today by speaking to your intelligent assistant and interacting in a dialogue where if it says, what is your name? You fill it in or spell it, or what is your gender, or what's your age? Again, all these things can be filled in, and you can have an intelligent assistant helping you to interact with real-world problems, even if you're illiterate. So literacy divide is one of the first things that will fall. The second one is the language divide. I don't know how many of you have read Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. There's something called a babblefish, which you stick in your ear, and it'll translate all alien languages to your language. I think we are on the horizon. We are probably less than 10 years away to be able to have a digital babblefish so that each of us can talk our own language and talk to the other person speaking in a completely different language, be it Swahili or Mandarin or Telugu, and it will be instantaneously translated, and you can hear it in your AirPod. And the whole thing, it can be done today for some major languages, and it's not yet easy to use as a dialogue agent. And it will be. It's just purely a question of designing some tools. The third thing, I don't know how many of you have been through the shutdowns of COVID. It caused a huge amount of grief for many people, and the estimates of the economy, global GDP has gone down by 10 to 15% because of the COVID. 10% of $100 trillion is $10 trillion. So that gives every person, every man, woman, and child, you can give them tools up for about $1,000 a person, every man, woman, and child. And you don't need a tool for $1,000. You can get an Apple Watch-like device these days for $100, and which will measure your heart rate, breathing rate, blood pressure, oxygen level, and all the vital components. If every person on the planet can be monitored for their health vitals, you will be able to say who is about to go into a COVID protocol and tell them to quarantine themselves, and the rest of us can go about. The issue is not shutting down all interaction to get down the spreading rate to 0. All you need to do is get it down below 1 so that exponential spread does not happen. So this is something that we understand how to do. The big elephant in the room is privacy and security. If I have a watch, you're constantly monitoring my health care, I don't want you to do that. It turns out future phones and so on will have enough local memory and local computation. You don't have to share it with anybody. And it is possible to share on an anonymized basis some data in return for some benefits. For example, if you are going to be sick, it would be nice to know that it's about to happen in a day or two. And I believe that might be make it worthwhile for you to share some of your data on an anonymized basis. But the question is, how will I find out if I anonymize data, upload it, and it is processed, and you see this person with this handle is about to get COVID. Right now, the situation is there's no, if it's truly anonymized, there's no way to get the data back. So what you have to do is broadcast saying, anyone with this handle looks like you have a problem, download this app and process it, and it'll tell you what to do. So without letting anyone else know, this is called zero-knowledge proofs in computer science theory sometimes, without letting anyone know, you can actually solve problems that are currently not solved. Okay. So I will skip some of these other things. This will also help people at the bottom of the pyramid if we can empower AI. We can build what we call cognition amplifiers and guardian angel intelligent apps. A cognition amplifier anticipates what you want to do and helps you to do it with less effort. Supposing I go to my bank account, open my bank thing, and I'm about, if you're able to anticipate that you want to pay a bill, and you already had the bill available online, and your agent could have paid it the previous night at midnight, saying, oh, you have to pay this bill, and I paid it for you. So you don't have to do anything. It's already done. There are many things like that a cognition amplifier intelligent agent can do. However, there are things that you may want to do, need to do, that you don't know how to do. These are what we call guardian angels, an enduring, personal, autonomic, intelligent agent that's always on, always present, always working, and always learning, would constantly monitor, analyze, and learn from own experience and experience of others, and can discover and warn human beings, the owners, about the unanticipated events such as hurricanes or earthquakes, and just-in-time warnings. Longer problems, potential impending problems of food security, water security, and energy security can also be anticipated by guardian angel technology and given advice to every person through their personal guardian angel, saying, hey, there's going to be a water shortage in the area you're living in, water security. Here are the possible options you have. And this is easy to do today from a technology point of view. All that it requires is ability to analyze the global situation and determine what the impact in your region is or for every person is, and then notify them. I'll give you a very simple example. There was a 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. There was a major earthquake. 300,000 people died. At that time, we didn't have all the technology, but today, with the right kind of planning for the future, we could have saved 90% of those deaths. All it requires is to get the right information to the right person, each person, in the right language, in the right level of detail, saying, hey, you better go to in Tamil or Sri Lankan, and then have the person have some explanation saying, you don't want the details of what tsunami is and how it works and so on. You say there's going to be a 100-foot wave hitting you very soon, you better get to high ground. That's all you need. That's all they need. And if we could have done that, we had 15 minutes, we could have saved 90% of the population. So the right information to the right people at the right time in the right language at the right level of granularity. My colleague Jaime Carbonell passed away a few years ago. He used to call it the Bill of Rights of AI, AI Bill of Rights. I thought it was a terrific slogan. That is, one definition of what AI should be doing for the future as a tool should be to get the right information to the right people at the right time in the right language and the right level of granularity. And it's easy to do, not easy to do today, but it is doable today, and it requires some planning. In 10, 15 years, I think all of us will have a guardian angel which will be helping us to do this. Not only near-term disasters, but also long-term planning things. Saying in 6 months to a year, there'll be a water shortage or food shortage in this location. However, as we know from Bengal famine, 100 miles away, there was enough food. So getting the right information to the right people turns out to be a very powerful tool that we'll all have. Okay, now let me skip to the perils. There are lots of problems. Every technology we create causes its own problems. AI is no exception. On the other hand, you don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater. For example, 100 years ago, if I had said to you, there'll be 1 million deaths every year because of automotive accidents, would we have stopped automotive technology and the spread? Right now, that is the truth. There are 40,000, 50,000 people die in the USA, 200,000 people die in India and China each or more. And it's just dreadful. If we had the right technology, I'll come back to self-driving car technology. It turns out we can eliminate 85% of all accidents and all deaths. And therefore, we're talking about eliminating 850,000 deaths. Now, suddenly, Waymo car goes and has an accident, it becomes a big news, and nobody wants to do anything. Everything slows down to a zero. If I had my way, I would kind of require every car to be built in with self-driving capability. What does that mean? That doesn't mean you shouldn't have a driver. It doesn't mean it should be driving by itself. I call it human-assisted automated driving, not AI-assisted human driving. It's the reverse. Most of the time it's driving, And if occasionally you're not paying attention, you take over. And it is more of an intelligent cruise control. If we can just implement that and require every car on the planet coming out have a self-driving capability, I think it'll have a huge impact on the repair bills, which in the United States is $55 billion a year, and the number of deaths, which is about 40 to 50,000 deaths a year, I think will have a huge impact on. So automated driving has gotten a bad rap, I think, but nevertheless, people have not given up. I just read or heard Waymo is getting $5 billion more from Google. And so going back, the other major potential problem, this is for sure, there will be a lot of job losses. In the past, we had no coherent plan of how to deal with human-created job losses. These are all policies. Based on the policies, the job losses are happening. For example, NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, caused a huge dislocation in the United States. A lot of people were unemployed. And what they said was, oh, no problem, we'll retrain you. Hell, I don't want to be retrained. I've worked on this job for 50 years. I'm about to retire in about 5, 10 years. I want to be paid full salary for the rest of my till retirement so that I don't have to worry about the thing. Just because the government makes a policy and causes dislocation and job losses doesn't mean an individual human being. So this is a new social justice issue that'll come up in the future. And I tend to be very optimistic. I have a solution, which is I think we should institute UBI, Universal Basic Income, and we need to say every man, woman, and child will be paid $1,000, no matter what. And then hopefully with $1,000 is barely enough to survive a month, and other benefits. So how do you fund it? If you have to pay $1,000 a month for 10 billion people, that's $10 trillion a month, is that $100 trillion a year. I'm saying if the GDP goes up from 100 trillion to 1,000 trillion, why can't we tax 10% of that to create a global security blanket, global security net that will, in fact, fund UBI? So anyway, so there are a number of other issues like that. I only have 2 minutes, so I'll quickly go through it. This is the most serious problem that's being caused. Malicious deepfakes. And you can have laws and regulations and so on and punish people that are doing it substantially, put them in jail for life or whatever you want, if they maliciously create something that is harming another human being. But unfortunately, the problem is not as simple. There's also state-sponsored malicious deepfakes. State-sponsored. And you can sanction them, and they will shrug their shoulders and they go away. So I think this is a serious problem. One way to deal with it is right now we take it as a God-given right that as soon as I post something on X, everybody sees it instantaneously. 20 years ago, there was no such thing as X, no such thing as social networks. And we were happy. And the fact we didn't get instantaneous information was not a problem. But today it is. So my recommendation is that we have a 3-tier process. Anything that's posted does not become available instantaneously. It takes at least 24 hours. And at the 24 hours, using AI technology, we try to identify truly malicious posts and then have them go through a longer vetting process. It may take a week, it may take even a month. What does it matter? That information will be put on the thing, and that information was never there in the first place 20 years ago. Suddenly it has become a God-given right. So I think we need to come up with regulation and formulation for malicious acts, deep fakes, voice, and images and so on. And as you probably saw, one of the news stories yesterday was one of the representatives who lost their ability to speak could use real voice, use a synthetic voice to give a speech in the Congress. I think there are lots of, as I said, there are a lot of benefits in all of these technologies. There's also the cost. Okay. Killer weapons. Again, I don't have time to go into it. This is a serious problem. However, no one is talking about humane weapons. Why aren't we talking about humane weapons? It is easy to design weapons which will disable rather than destroy the enemy soldiers. More importantly, will turn away from a hospital or a school without hitting them. We have the technology. We know how to do it now. But nobody is seriously talking about it. And anyway, there are lots of other things: social manipulation, surveillance, financial crisis, data privacy, plagiarism, all kinds of things. There's also the threat of existential threat. Some people have said that AI is going to take over the world and make us slaves. I don't think it'll happen. And the way all these predictions come with a lot of ifs. If machines surpass human brain in general intelligence, and it can become beyond control. And so there are a lot of ifs, and the answer is, to me, is we don't get on a plane thinking it's going to crash. It may crash. We may die. There may be a more remote event like an asteroid impact. That could cause existential threat. We don't stop living and doing things because of that. So it's not enough to reach computational power. We need the Einsteins and Maxwells to design an architecture of a child machine. Key word is child machine. Can you get a child machine in a school which will listen to the same lectures and same knowledge as a kindergarten student and learn with no other help from anybody else? We are nowhere close to building that kind of a machine and that can learn with experience. Okay. So there are many more slides here. I won't talk about them. I will turn it off. I want you to leave you with one main idea. AI is just a tool. It is there to enhance our mental capabilities. And it's up to us to use it as we know how. And say, if I can have a tool that will let me do my job, whatever the job it might be, for every person on the planet, we will, help the whole society. Everything else, like taking over the world and making us slaves, all of that is speculation. Of course, we can speculate about anything. If you remember, the Hell movie predicted, hell was going to take over the world. That didn't happen. And so my suggestion is, rather than worrying about improbable things, or even if it is improbable, if it happens, it happens. If you're on an airplane and it crashes, that may be, but it is not an existential threat. With that, I thank you very much and appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone. So first, thanks a lot, Raj, for a really inspiring talk. So my name is Dong Song. I'm a professor in computer science at UC Berkeley. And also, I have the privilege and honor of being a colleague of Raj previously as a faculty at CMU as well. So I will be the moderator for the next panel. So together with Raj, we also have an amazing set of panelists. So now let me welcome the panelists. Okay, so first let me just very briefly introduce our esteemed panelists. So first we have Xuedong Huang, a CTO of Zoom, and also previously CTO of Microsoft Azure AI and the technical fellow. Xuedong also had worked with Raj together on speech recognition. And next we have Fei-Fei, a Sequoia professor of computer science at Stanford University and Denning Family Co-Director of Stanford Institute for Human-Centered AI, HAI. And also, as many of you here know, that Fei-Fei is also the author of a recent book, a bestseller on the world's IC, and I highly recommend everyone to check it out. And next we have Harry Shum, former EVP of Microsoft, currently Council Chairman of Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And Raj actually is Harry is one of Raj's former students. And we have also Alex Acero, who just retired from Apple, where he served as a Siri chief scientist and a senior distinguished engineer. And Alex is also one of Raj's students. Great. Thanks a lot for the great panel. So now we'll just start with some quick questions on some exciting things about AI. So first, as we all know, AI has been making tremendous progress. So can each of you share what are you most excited about AI currently?
One of the lessons I have learned about the most exciting advances in AI is if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So in AI, we need metric-based science, metric-based thing. And almost every one of the panelists made major contributions on metric-based AI. Fei-Fei on the ImageNet, for example. Without that, I nearly fell off the chair when I saw the results. And thank you for doing it. Having the vision to create the vision database. Thank you.
I'm glad you didn't fall out of the chair.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot, Raj. Yes, I think a lot of people really, yes, I think really think that how we can best measure AI in many different aspects, capabilities, safety metrics, and so on are very important. So yeah, please, next panelist, whoever.
I can say that I was doing my PhD at CMU with Raj and others back in the late 80s, and I was doing acoustic modeling. And back then, I started to dabble in language models, and I said, oh man, those models are large. So first of all, I object to the term large language models. I think it should be gigantic language models today, ginormous language models. But I think there is some merit about the small language models. Like, we don't necessarily need for a lot of the applications something that is like a tera by, a 1,000 billion parameters or anything like that. You can do a lot with like maybe 3 billion parameters, and that's one of the things that we did recently in the Apple announcement, where you can run it on your phone. For some tasks, that's good enough. So I think that they're underappreciated. Size matters, but you can do something with smaller versions too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think, yes, now everybody talks about this large language models that's getting bigger and bigger. But I do think that in the future, already we are seeing these smaller models running on devices. And I think in the future, they are definitely going to take more and more share of the AI experience that everyone experiences.
So maybe I add to what Alex said. I think to me personally, this multimodal, gigantic models, now short term, would be very, very interesting. I actually want to tell you a story, how I got into computer vision research with Raj as my advisor. I may still have the distinction that I'm the only PhD student from Raj who did not do speech. I got to CMU early 90s. Then I talked to Raj, and I said, Raj, now I'm your student. I guess I just have to do speech. He said, what did you mean? I said, well, I traveled several thousand miles away from China to here, Pittsburgh. I'm not going to do one-dimensional signal processing. I want to do at least the two-dimensional, if not the three-dimensional. 30 years later, now we are here looking at the progress of AI. I think we are really at the cusp of solving multimodal speech, language, vision, image, video all together. We have a chance to really realize some dreams of what John McCarthy had a long, long time ago, what AI really can do.
Thanks.
So I'll add to this. First of all, everybody here is a student or a colleague of Raj. I'm a fan of Raj. Just
we can adopt you.
Yes, please. So as you know, like Harry, I work in computer vision. I'm very excited by spatial intelligence, going from even 3-dimensional to 4-dimensional, and you can check my TED Talk. But Dawn's question is about what excites me. And I want to say all 6 of us sitting on stage, we're computer scientists. So we build tools. And you can call tools hammers. So we're hammer people. So what, if you were a hammer, think if you're a hammer, what makes a hammer most excited is you see a world of infinite nails. That, you have a hammer and there's so many nails. And I want to say this because you just heard Raj's talk. AI has become a civilizational technology. This is not only a technology that's fun by itself, 1D, 2D, 3D, all these are incredible, fun, technical problems. It suddenly is an empowering technology. We heard from the sustainability panel. We will hear from many others about how AI can empower education, empower healthcare, empower scientific discovery, empower creators, empower artists. And that's what makes me so excited that after so many decades being the hammer people, we now have so many nails we can work on.
Really well put.
Yeah, so they all outlined what is super exciting. But to me, I just want to say today, I'm most excited and privileged to join this group to celebrate Raj. Raj has this amazing vision and the persistence. And I want to really highlight the breakthrough of AI today. It's called LLM, What does that mean? That means large language model. But I want to give credit to Raj, who actually had the first PhD student, James Baker, applied the hidden marker model to speech recognition, then later founded the Dragon system. With the hidden marker model, statistic-based speech recognition, IBM and many colleagues applied that to not only speech recognition, but also machine translation. So it's not an overstatement to say Raj helped push the whole field. As you know, Transformer is from Google Translation team. Today's large language model is nothing more than just going brute force. Get all the data, translate your question history into the next token. Speech recognition translation really benefited from Carnegie Mellon's research, Raj's leadership. So today I'm super excited to join the group to celebrate Raj and the achievement, an amazing journey. So thank you, Raj.
Yeah, thanks, Xuedong. Yes, it's our great, really honor and pleasure to celebrate Raj's great achievements and that actually inspires all of us and serving as a great role model for all of us.
I won't take it too far. It takes 1,000 people to build a single good speech recognition system. A lot of innovation has happened at Alex's labs in Apple and Xuedong's lab in Microsoft, and now Zoom. So I would say, it just so happens we need someone to point and say, you started it or something. But without all the fantastic efforts, I'm not sure it'll happen. As McCarthy said, ultimately to get AI, we need a project of the size of Manhattan Project. In my estimate, today, in today's dollars, is close to $1 trillion. I'm not sure where the money is going to come from and how it's going to happen, but that's what it'll take.
Can I add to that? Raj, actually, I think this is such an important point. In the past 1 year, there has been so many voices coming out of public sector AI in America, talking to the administration about a moonshot mentality for AI. Whether you call it Manhattan Project or not, that investment, not only from industry side, but also from academic public sector side, to really reach to the moon, reach to the full potential of AI is just critical. So it's important to be reminded of this mentality started from John McCarthy and the pioneers of AI.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Raj. And thanks, Fei-Fei. So yes, we've talked about the exciting part of AI. On the other hand, now today, most of the AI field, people talk about transformers, large language models. So for further advancements of AI, what do you think is currently underrated in AI?
Maybe I can just add a few remarks. I really think that Raj already talked about, productivity lift and Guardian Angel. If you think about the ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, Zoom AI Companion, there's a goal to be your companion to help you amplify your mental capability. So the benefit is really a tremendous amount of time saving for all walks of life. So the joke I want to use for this Asian American audience is, all of you get a free Mao Tai. Mao Tai in Chinese is really considered as the luxury. If you translate it into English using the older translation system, it means more time. So you all get Mao Tai and more time because of AI benefit. So that is probably the highest level of benefit. You not only enjoy drinking, but also you get more time.
So your question is the benefits of AI?
What's currently underrated?
Underrated of AI. I think one of the most underrated thing of AI is AI doesn't work that well. Because the flip side is it's overrated and overhyped what AI would do today. AI is still a profound scientific, technological North Star of many of us because it is the creation of machine intelligence. But let's not mistaken a ambitious, audacious goal with the reality. We hear so much. It's true, AI has had its inflection point, especially the LLMs and all this, but it's still a deeply flawed or limited technology that requires a lot of human in the loop, and it requires a lot of understanding of its limitation. And what is extremely dangerous right now is the so-called human extinction risk of AI, where this technology is becoming machine overlords and all that. And I think that that is very dangerous for the society. It's very dangerous for, the rhetoric would engender a lot of unintended consequences. And what is underappreciated is the limitation, the very thoughtful, balanced, unbiased communication and education of AI.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yes, as I think some of us were discussing earlier, like AI safety overall is a very important topic. And AI safety actually covers a very broad spectrum, including AI risks coming from AI misuse and coming from systemic catastrophe, and also coming from potentially loss of control as well. But however, it's important for all of us to keep in mind that we need to strike a very well-charted balance. We need to continue to foster innovation while at the same time developing approaches and technologies for mitigating various AI risks.
Yeah, I want to bring up a point that, what's underrated. If you look at the latest developments of AI, especially last decade, I think for the science research community, I think many people have not realized the potential of using the latest AI tools to do research. To me, the AI for science is probably what's the most important thing all the universities globally should really look into. I give you one example that for a long time, because of the limitation of computing power, in computer science we say any problem we have, we should do divide and conquer. So that's how we kind of grew up, was brought up. But no longer that's the case. If you actually have massive computing power, you actually tackle bigger problem first, then you focus on more specialized cases. I think this kind of research methodology, with the help of the latest AI, especially with the computing power and the massive amount of data, which you can also simulate, I think it's something people will quickly realize, and whoever get on this thing is going to benefit a lot.
So we've heard all of the progress that AI and LLMs and ChatGPT, who no one had heard of even 2 years ago, have made. Fei-Fei was mentioning some of the risks and some of the problems. And I'd like to mention another one to tie back to the previous session on energy. It turns out that building these models, just training them, costs not just a lot of money, a lot of energy. I've heard that 5% of the energy used is 5% of the energy that was used in the United States last year before building all these things just to build these models. And it's forecasted at this rate that it could be half of the energy. So we're trying to emit less carbon. Well, this is going into the wrong direction. Now, the good news is that we at least know of one mechanism to train these models in a much more economical way, which is the human brain. The human brain uses something like 20% of the daily calories to function. That's maybe like 500 calories, maybe like perhaps like 5% of your iPhone's battery in a day. And we're doing inference and learning. So at least we know there is a mechanism to do it much more economically. So I'm hoping that there will be a lot of research to say, how can we build these models instead of just brute force? I mean, we need to continue doing that a little bit, but also explore other mechanisms to do it, to take care of the environment for our children.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And we hope that at a certain point, maybe even AI can take this loop that helps with energy saving, developing better energy solutions as well. Okay, so now let's turn to the next question. So what's your recommendation for the audience for what they should do now to embrace or brace for the upcoming changes due to AI? As we all know, that changes are coming.
I have a favorite hope. Right now, a lot of innovation is happening on technology-driven innovation, large language models and various other things. We're doing them because we can do them. What is not happening, maybe it is happening in the just I don't know. This morning we had some very important problems. Sustainability and climate change. And if I were investing in AI pie, I would spend 10 to 20% of all of the dollars on building tools for solving problems that occur in those fields. And that's not the only one. You know, we talked about language divide and literacy divide and COVID. For example, we know for sure there will be more pandemics in the world. Can we prepare for it? What kind of tools should society have, every person have, so that many of the problems we went through can be eliminated? All of that requires investments and asking the question how AI-enabled tools for enhancing the problem-solving capabilities of all those individuals would be possible, and where does the money come from? Who's going to invest it, and how is it going to happen? That whole discussion is not happening that I know. Fei-Fei might know more about it, and maybe we should be asking that.
Thank you, Raj. I'll follow up what you said. I totally agree. So when it comes to AI, I deeply, deeply believe this is a technology that should be rooted in humans. Humans made it, humans are developing it, humans are using it, and humans should govern it. And here at Stanford Human Centered AI Institute, we take a 3 concentric ring approach or framework to think about how to work AI with humans, the individual level, community level, and society level. At the individual level, I believe we have to participate and embrace AI. This is a civilizational technology. It is changing how kids learn. It is changing how doctors use diagnostic method. It is changing how artists do design. It is changing how teachers teach. And all of us individually, whether you're a technologist or not, there is a role you can play in, like Raj and many of the panelists said, in using this tool, both to your advantage, but also responsibly. As a community, this is also a tool that can really, really empower a lot of what the community needs, whether this is a community caring about environment, community caring about global, not global, but even local agriculture. I've actually seen communities embracing machine learning technologies to assess water quality for a particular agricultural community. a community of artists coming together, not only using this tool, but voicing their concerns, as well as remedy ideas, mitigation ideas. Last but not the least, society, governments, institutions, industries, federal agencies, international bodies should really take this technology seriously. We have energy issues impacting geopolitics. We have the whole debate between open source and non-open source impacting the economic ecosystem. We have also governance issues, thinking about the risk and safety of this. We have to take a proactive approach, a multi-stakeholder approach, and a whole society approach. And there's no point of return. This technology is too important for so many things and so many people, including our future generations.
Yeah, thanks. This is really well put. I think to summarize what Raj and Fei-Fei said, I think maybe this is also a time for call to action for everyone here in the audience. It is everyone's responsibility, and everyone can and should take action to contribute to this global and societal efforts, how we can convert this amazing technology for the developers and really into actual real-world solutions to solve the kind of problems that Raj and Fei-Fei mentioned, these huge societal problems, and essentially build a better world for everyone. Anything else that other panelists want to add? Otherwise, we'll also go to...
I just want to add this, why this AI revolution is somewhat different, or maybe significantly different from technology revolution and the evolution point of view. I think we humans are good at creating tools. As Raj said, it's just a tool. We're here building this kind of tools, but why this time people are afraid, worried? I think if you look at the history, human build tools largely amplify our physical capability. And we understand most of the science behind that, whether it's getting stone tools, iron tools, other things. But this time is different because we are talking about the cognitive capability, our brain power here, which unfortunately, scientifically, we do not understand enough. We're just worried about so many things that we thought the humans are so special. And AI, one by one, somehow can actually reach the human level, even beyond human level. And this is why I totally agree with Raj and Fei-Fei that we should all embrace AI technology, understand its implications and the promises and the perils of AI. I think it's a very exciting time to get into this field.
I'd like to follow up what Harry said, in that if you look at past big transformations like the Industrial Revolution, when we think about inventions like the steam engine, it changed a whole lot of how people lived. But it created a possibility to go in the railroad and travel distances, the manufacturing things in plants. But it also brought a lot of people that were working in agriculture back to the cities to work on these manufacturing activities. So there will be transformation of jobs. Some jobs will be lost, others will be gained. So I think it's not just our job to develop the technology, but also our job and our responsibility to think about the future, how this will transform society, and make sure that we make it in a graceful transition so that things are different, but everyone has like a good job and a good life.
I just want to add the last point. The AI is going to advance. Just amazingly, you can take that for granted. So I think most of us should find a way to really apply AI, transform the society, increase the value, so you can actually really help all of us to enjoy the free time, multi you have.
Great, thank you. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. So we have a few minutes left. We'd like to open the floor. So for the audience, okay.
Thanks for the nice talk. My name is John Hu. I work in the AI company NVIDIA, and have been investing heavily in the AI field. I like the optimism from Professor Reddy about that GDP is going to increase 10 times due to AI. And on the other hand, the jobless problem is going to be dominating. And also a lot of people say that AI is the fourth industry revolution, but if you compare to the first revolution, when jobs were created in the factory first and pull the jobs from the farmers. So it creates a new job instead of replacing the farmer's job. Today, the AI revolution starts from a wrong direction. It starts to replace the farmer's jobs first before it creates a factory, AI factory job. So Fei-Fei's AI hammer is hammering a wrong nail. It's hammering on our own fingers. So we have a lot of people get impacted in the last few years due to this AI revolution, especially programmers. So my question for the panel is that what do you see the native AI jobs, the AI factory is going to be in the next few years to save our next generation?
I can start. First of all, jobs is one of the most critical AI topic, both for individuals as well as all the way to government policy. At Stanford HAI, we actually have a digital economy lab headed by Professor Eric Brynjolfsson within the AI Institute, looking at this. There are many aspects to this very complicated question. I do want to make a very nuanced point about the word job and the word task. And we really have to understand this because practically every single human job is a collection of multiple tasks. Take American nurses as an example. It is estimated a single nurse shift in, let's say, 8-hour window, the nurse task is in the order of hundreds. So when we talk about technology, especially a powerful one, taking over or replacing jobs, we really should look at, are they replacing tasks and are they replacing jobs? The answer is they're changing many of the tasks within jobs, but in turn, they're also morphing the nature of jobs. Is this positive? Is it negative? It's actually very nuanced. LLM, we just did a study on LLM that shows for contact center workers, the novice workers, their job quality was boosted more than 30% by large language models. But then if you go to the experienced workers, their job quality is actually not impacted by LLMs. This shows that there is an impact on the technology, on tasks, but more holistically as a job, it is actually it's not clear. All I'm saying is that this is critically important. There's a lot of nuanced study and policy consideration, but as a global conversation of jobs, we have to be more thoughtful in this approach. Last but not least, I just want to say, Silicon Valley is by and large tech utopia. And I'm part of that. And I do believe AI as a technology increases global productivity. But global productivity does not translate into shared prosperity. That is very important to recognize. We have seen this multiple times in history, that shared prosperity did not happen automatically from productivity increase. And that's another layer of this whole job landscape that we have to pay attention to.
We'll take one last question.
Dr. Lee, as the creator of the ImageNet dataset, you managed to create a benchmark that the entire CV community was able to get behind. And then if we look at LLMs, we haven't had a benchmark that the entire community has been able to get behind. While we do have like the standard set of benchmarks, nothing replaces just trying out the LLMs and then just forming your own opinion. So what are your thoughts on the current state of LLM benchmarks, and what are their flaws, and do you have any suggestions for different approaches? Thank you.
First of all, we actually have a lot of language experts. I think XD should totally comment on that. Let me just say, I appreciate that your commentary on ImageNet. Just like Raj said, everything is built upon generations of effort, and I would not say ImageNet came out of blue. There has been generations of computer vision researchers and data sets that really laid the groundwork. And also ImageNet was lucky because it was early. It was early in the field that it hasn't blossomed into so many different important problems and tasks. So it played a historical role that might not be able to be repeated. Now, fast forward to LLMs. In fact, there are many benchmarks in LLMs. The latest MMLU, there is, the Stanford Helm benchmark. They are very different. Some are more performance focused. Some are more holistic, like the Stanford Helm benchmark spearheaded by Professor Percy Liang actually look at both the performance and accuracy as well as more social aspect, including transparency and bias and all that. So the reason we are not seeing a single benchmark in a critical technology like LLM, in my opinion, is because we really have blossomed into a new phase. This piece of technology is way more general than what we had built in computer vision back 10 years ago. I don't know, actually, XD, I would love to ask you, I don't know if we're ever gonna have a single benchmark for LLMs the same way we would have for ImageNet anymore. What do you think?
Let me just respond. First, none of those benchmarks is as famous as ImageNet. They created. Right? The second point I want to add is the impact is also much broader. So there's no one single benchmark. But if you take a look at what the Meta just announced on Llama 3.1, they have a series of benchmarks from MMLU to other tasks. Anthropic did the same thing when they shipped Cloud 3.5. So you can see it's just very healthy. With that big table, you have a collection of benchmarks, and Anthropic is the leader in some of the areas. GPT-4o is a leader in some other areas, but Llama 3.1 as open source is great. It's actually really outperforming some of the closed leaders. Mm-hmm. So this is very healthy. That is the diversity we're looking for. That means the impact of AI is getting broader, not just on the ImageNet.
Yeah, these are very good points. Right, so actually MMLU is created from Berkeley. Actually, my students led the creation of MMLU as well. And even within MMLU, you can see it actually covers many different tasks. So for language domain, it's very different. It's not, there's not one single task that is the most dominant. And so it's very natural to see a lot of different benchmarks.
For every company, they have their in-house benchmarks. Yep. That's their trade secret, because every company, in order to ship the best product, how to measure the quality of the product is really a trade secret. Zoom has such one, right? We actually benchmark against all the models. So, but we do keep that benchmark evaluation as the most important metrics.
Mm-hmm. And I would even further expand on this. I think also AI is at a very interesting point. I think many of us, yes, we have the North Star about building intelligent machines, but there have been questions, what's the best path going forward? And there have been a lot of theoretical approaches as well, trying to explore how to build intelligent machines in a more theoretical, using a more theoretical approach. But however, so far, what the community has discovered is that really AI is very much of an experimental science and experimental technology. We really don't have much understanding of how these LLMs work at all. And what we can do, the tools we have, is in some sense it's kind of like chemists and biologists. We do experiments. Essentially, there's this magic box. We have to probe it in different ways, see how it reacts. And we don't even know what this magic box can do. Every day, I think many of us find surprises of the new capabilities of this magic box. And because of that, benchmarks, various evaluation technologies are really important. I would even say, in some sense, you can imagine, people talk about this as an example, as an alien. If an alien studies a technology created by humans, then they, like, for example, as a microchip and so on, so they would need to probe it to see what it actually does when given different inputs and so on. So similarly, this AI technology, some people call it alien technology. Essentially, it is really interesting that we actually do need to develop new methods to probe this magic box, to actually try to understand it better and so on.
I'd like to add that I've been a big fan of benchmarks, and in fact, the speech community has benefited tremendously from efforts like DARPA since the 70s, and that has created a lot of progress. But there was one thing that we need to be careful with all the benchmarks that we have from LLMs now, because these systems like essentially train on the whole internet, and all these benchmarks are open. It turns out that some of the test sets are in the training data. That's one of the things that we learn, Machine Learning 101, make sure that your test set and your training data do not overlap, no longer true. There was a paper just a year ago that showed that in one type of collection of tests of benchmarks, one particular system was doing 100% correct. And then on the next one, it was doing 0. So check it again, there's a problem. And then they figure out that the 100% is because all of those were in the training data, because you're scraping everything like crazy and becomes, so we need to be careful and go back to the basics and remember your test data needs to be separate. And in fact, there are initiatives these days where people are creating these test sets, these benchmarks, and they don't publish them on purpose because otherwise the crawler will just get them into a training data and then you'll fool yourself thinking that you're doing great. So we still need to think about benchmarks carefully.
So Alex worked in Apple. Clearly he understands. Apple, I'm sure it's like Zoom, got their own internal benchmark. Nobody else has access.
And yes, thanks for the great points. And I think to add to that, essentially, even from this experimental science perspective, actually, evaluation methodology in AI is actually at a very, very early stage. I think, for example, in physics, they actually go through great length to make sure that their experiments does, for example, validate or invalidate a certain theory and so on. And they are extremely careful with how they do the experiments and analyze the data. And in AI, like the problems that Alex just mentioned, so actually there are many, many other problems with these benchmarks and evaluation methodologies. And we do hope, I think, in the community that in the next, in the near future, we'll see great progress in this evaluation methodology area. Great. So with that, I think we are out of time. So I would like to thank our great panelists, and thanks the audience for the great session.